الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, we have now come to the 15th day of the month of Dhul Qa'dah, or if you like, Dhul Qa'dah of the year 1442 and Hijri, coinciding with what today is also the 25th of the month of June of the year 2021 and Damani. And we are continuing our readings and contemplations within the work that is entitled Qasasul Anbiya, that is entitled the stories of the prophets, as has been authored by the renowned scholar Abul Fida Ismail ibn Kathir. May Allah the Exalted bestow expansive mercy upon his soul as he passes in the year 774 and Hijri. And we are within the story of the prophet Hud alayhi salam, and we looked at his emergence as well as his dispute with his people, along with his Arab origin. And we come to the point in the text where it now states, the people of Hud could not fathom the thought that Allah would send a human as his messenger. This was the very same doubt which every disbelieving nation had, regardless of the time they lived in history. Allah, the glorious and the exalted, he is mentioned. Is it a wonder to mankind that we have revealed to a man among themselves to warn the people? And nothing prevented the people from believing when the guidance came to them, but that they said, has Allah sent a human as a messenger? Say, had there been on the earth angels walking with tranquility, we would have sent down an angel as a messenger from heaven to them. For this reason, Hud alayhi salam, he says to them, do you wonder that an admonition came to you from your Lord through a man from among you, so he may warn you? This means that it is not something to be surprised about, because Allah sends whom he pleases. Also, Allah the glorious, he has stated, does he, Hud, promise you that when you are dead and have become dust and bones, you will be raised up? Impossible what you are promised. There is nothing but the life of this world. We die and we live, but we will never be raised up. He is nothing but a man who invents lies in the name of Allah, but we are not one of those who believe in him. He said, my Lord, help me, for they accuse me of falsehood. And we see very clearly here that the people of Hud, they disbelieved in his prophethood. They thought that the hereafter is an improbable matter and refused to accept the resurrection of bodies after they decayed and became dust and bones. Hence they said, impossible what you are promised. There is nothing but the life of this world. There's nothing but this life. We die and we live, and we will never be raised up. This means that as a nation passes away, others follow them. Thus, the cycles continue forever. This is the belief of a group called the Dahriya. The word Dahr literally means time, but here it means the materialists. And this is in the onset of what eventually becomes the doubters, or as we call them today, the atheists. Some ignorant people from the Zanadiqa, from the heretics, they say that wombs produce and the earth swallows. And when we say the Zanadiqa, the people of heterodoxy, the people that are inclined towards doubt and atheism, a group called the Dahriya, again the materialists, they believe that they return to this world after 36,000 years. All of these beliefs are nothing but lies, disbelief, ignorance, and misguidance. They are false claims and imaginations that are not backed by any credible evidence. Those among the children of Adam who do not have sense and intellect have tried to use senses and intellect. Allah the Glorious, He has said, in the hearts of only those who do not believe in the hereafter may be inclined to it, and that they may be well pleased with it, and that they may invent what they are going to invent. Hud alayhi salam admonished them by saying, do you build a landmark on every high place to amuse yourselves, and that you get for yourselves fine buildings as though you may live forever? Prophet Hud alayhi salam told them, do you build on every elevated place a huge landmark like palaces and castles? You are merely fooling around because you do not need them. They did not need them because they used to live in tents. Allah said, have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the people of Ad, of the city of Iram, with lofty pillars, the like of which was never created in any land? So the Ad of Iram were the ancient Ad who lived in tents, pitched by lofty pillars. Whoever claims that Iram is a city of gold and silver, and that it moves from one place to another, have fallen into error. And such people have claimed that without evidence. Regarding the words fine buildings in the verse, in that you get for yourselves fine buildings, some regard it to be palaces, whilst others they say that they are dovecots, and to some they are water sources. The part of the verse that mentions as though you may live forever means that you hope to live for a long time. The verse goes on as, and when you exert your power, you exert it like tyrants. So fear Allah and obey me, and fear the one who has bestowed on you what you know, bestowed on you cattle and children, and gardens and fountains. Indeed, I fear for you the punishment of a great day. His people said to him in response, have you come to us that we may worship Allah alone and forsake that which our fathers worshipped? Then bring to us your threats if you are among the truthful. This is the people of Hud, the Ad people, now challenging Allah and His messenger concerning the message and the threats, the warnings that were contained inside of the message, unfortunately. That is, they said to the Prophet, did you come to us so that we worship only Allah and disregard the practices of our forefathers and ancestors? So if you are truthful in what you claim, then let those punishments which you have promised befall upon us. Ma'adallah min dhalik. We seek Allah's refuge from that. No matter what, we are not going to believe in you or follow you or believe in what you have brought. Allah the Glorious then mentioned what the people said to Hud. It is the same to us, whether you admonish us or you are not one of those who admonish. This is nothing other than the customary religion of the ancient people, and we are not going to be punished. Clearly, they disbelieved. The Arabic word translated to mean customary religion is mentioned in the Quran as khuluq. In this case, it means that the religion which we follow is nothing other than what our forefathers and ancestors followed. Thus, we will not change our beliefs. However, if we read it according to another recitation, it becomes khalq. In such a case, it means invention or falsification. Thus, whatever you have brought us is nothing more than your own invention, which you took from ancient books. They claimed that Hud was not being original, but he was taking this from the ancestors. Both recitations are possible and relate to the end of the verse, where they are quoted to have said, and we are not going to be punished. Prophet Hud alayhi salam said, the anger and wrath of your Lord has fallen you. Do you dispute with me regarding names which you and your fathers have invented, and for which Allah sent down no authority? Then wait, and I will be waiting with you. The meaning of what Prophet Hud alayhi salam said to them is, you have earned the anger and wrath of Allah by this behavior. Do you go against the worship of Allah alone, who has no partner, by worshiping idols, which you have invented and given names to? You have rejected the acceptance of truth and have persisted in falsehood. Now it is the same to you, whether I warn you or do not warn you. So wait for the punishment of Allah, which will befall you. There is none who can turn it away. Allah the Glorious has said, He said, my Lord, this is Hud. He said, my Lord, help me, for they accuse me of falsehood. Allah said, very soon they will become remorseful. The blast then seized them with justice, and we cast them away like scum. So away with the evildoers. Allah the Glorious also said, they said, have you come to turn us away from our gods? So bring us what you threaten us with, if you are among the truthful. He said, the knowledge is only with Allah, and I conveyed to you the message with which I am sent. But I see that you are an ignorant people. Then when they saw it as a dense cloud coming toward their valleys, they said, this is a cloud that will give us rain. No, this is what you are asking to be hastened. A wind wherein is a painful punishment, which destroys all things by the order from its Lord. Then there did not remain anything to be seen except their dwelling places. Thus do we recompense the sinful people. And this is how the punishment of Allah comes. It comes without warning. It comes even though they were forewarned. It comes without warning. It comes when they are living their regular lives and people are just out and about or living in their regular functions. It comes to them when it's unexpected. Allah also mentioned their destruction in other verses in the Quran, for example. So we rescued him and those with him by our mercy, and we severed the roots of those who disbelieved in our revelation, and they were not believers. Similarly, Allah said in another place, and when our order came, we rescued Hud and those who believed with him, Hud and the believers, Hud and the Muslims, through our mercy, and saved them from a severe punishment. And such were the people of Ad. They denied the revelation of their Lord and disobeyed his messenger, meaning Hud, and followed the order of every insolent tyrant. They were pursued by a curse in this life, and upon the day of resurrection, behold, Ad disbelieved in their Lord. So away with Ad, the people of Hud. And also, then when they saw it as a dense cloud coming toward their valleys, they said, this is a cloud that will give us rain. No, this is what you are asking to be hastened. A wind wherein is a painful torment. This was the beginning of their punishment. They started suffering from a desire for rain, drought and famine. They wished for rain, and thus when they saw clouds coming in the sky, they thought it was rain that would bring relief to them. However, to their surprise, it was contrary to their thought and hope. It was rain of punishment. That is why Allah said, no, this is what you are asking to be hastened, meaning the occurrence of punishment. This was in response to their saying, then bring us what you promised us if you are among the truthful. Allah Glorious stated, which he, meaning Allah, made it rage against them for 7 nights and 8 days continuously. Can we imagine? Not so this is rain and the cloud and the winds and such, but this is speaking to a very violent storm that overtook them for a week's time. This means that it went on and on, unceasingly, with no respite. It is said that it started on Friday. In another opinion, it is suggested that it started on Wednesday. Then Allah said after it, you could see the people lying overthrown as if they were stumps of fallen palm trees. Allah likened the people of Ad with stumps of palm trees that have no branches coming out of them. This was the case because the wind would come to one of them, lift him, throw him in the air, then leave them fall on their heads. When they fell on earth, they were mere bodies without heads. As Allah the Glorious has said, we sent upon them a raging wind on an ill-fated day of constant calamity, plucking up people as if they were uprooted trunks of palm trees. And Allah knows best to the nature of this type of a storm that is this violent. But if the winds are this strong that they're picking people up and then throwing them back down, perhaps this is describing some form of a storm that included tornadoes, and Allah knows best. The day the punishment came upon them is described as ill-fated, and thus some people take their bad omen out on Wednesday. This is an incorrect understanding and contrary to the Quran, because another verse reads, we sent upon them a raging wind over ill-fated evil days, meaning plural, not one. As we know, the punishment continued for 8 days. If these days are evil and ill-fated in themselves, then all 7 days comes under it, and thus should also be taken as omens, and not just Wednesday. No one has ever said that all the days are ill-fated and evil. Rather, we can find virtue inside of a Wednesday. For example, it is a seldom mentioned sunnah reported by the companions on the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Wednesday between Dhuhr and Asr is a time for dua to be answered for those who supplicate in this particular window. Allah said, and in Ad, we sent upon them the sterile wind that left nothing that it came upon but reduced it to ruin. Sterile here means that does not produce any good because it did not pollinate any tree and it did not bring any cloud. It is established in Al-Bukhari and Muslim on the authority of Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I was helped by Sabah, or by Sabah, the east wind, and Ad were destroyed by Dabur, meaning the west wind. As regards the saying of Allah, and mentioned the brother of Ad, when he warned his people at the sand dunes in the region of Al-Ahqaf. And indeed, warners had come before him and after him, saying, worship none but Allah. Truly, I fear for you the punishment of a great day. It is apparent that this is speaking about the ancient or earlier Ad, because its context is the same as the context of the people of Hud, who themselves were the first. It is also possible that they are the second or later Ad because of what we have already mentioned, and also because of a hadith we will mention shortly on the authority of Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, regarding the saying of Allah. Then when they saw it as dense cloud coming toward their valleys, they said, this is a cloud that will give us rain. No, this is what you are asking to be hastened, a wind that contains a painful punishment. When Ad saw those clouds in the sky, they took it for rain clouds. It, however, turned out to be destructive clouds. They believed it to bring them relief, but it was punishment. They had but their hopes in it and received nothing but evil. See how Allah disarms the people before his punishment comes? It is possible that their punishment was that raging, fatal, immensely cold wind, which continued for 7 nights and 8 days, and thus no soul was left alive. In fact, it even followed them into the mountain caves and destroyed them in there. It destroyed their palaces, their fortified castles, and their landmarks, as they boasted about their strength and their power by saying, "Who is mightier than us?" Allah sent upon them something that was more powerful than their might, and this was the barren wind. It is also probable that the wind stirred up clouds at the end of the punishment. Then those who were still alive thought it was a cloud of mercy. Then Allah sent upon them evil and fire. This has been mentioned by a number of historians. If this was the case, then it will be similar to the fate of the companions of Midian, wherein more than one kind of punishment inflicted them. Imam Muslim reported on the authority of Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, a hadith regarding what the Prophet ﷺ would say when the wind blew. She said that the Prophet ﷺ used to say, "O Allah, I ask you its good, the goodness contained in it, and the goodness with which it was sent. And I seek refuge with you from its evil, the evil contained in it, and the evil with which it was sent." Aisha further added, may Allah be pleased with her, whenever the sky covered, whenever it was overcast, the Prophet's face would change. He would enter the house and then go out, then would pace up and down. If it rained, then he would become happy. Once, after noticing this, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, asked him regarding it. The Prophet ﷺ replied, "It could be what the people of Ad had faced previously. They had said, then when they saw it as a dense cloud coming toward their valleys, they said, 'This is a cloud that will give us rain.'" And as such, this ends the story of the Prophet Hud alayhi salam, and this ends the fall of the people of Ad. In our next sitting, inshallah ta'ala, we will enter into chapter 5 as we enter into the story of Salih and the people of Thamud, as well as the miracle that he was given of the she-camel. And it's worthy to mention here, scholarship has a discussion concerning the miracle of Hud alayhi salam. For generally, prophets and messengers are granted miracles by Allah, and these miracles are evidence of the truth in their message. And when it comes to Hud, the question becomes, well, what was the particular miracle that Hud was granted? There are those among scholarship who they mention that from the miracles of Hud is that he was given an ability of communication that was at a higher level than the ability of humanity at that time. He was able to communicate on a level that it was almost like it was impossible for him to lose in a debate, or for him to be overcome by any form of communication, or by any type of an argument. There are those in the scholarship that mention this, and this is what we had to offer. Questions?
I'm just thinking, because you have said there was over 300 prophets,
124,000 prophets.
Woo-wee.
315 messengers.
So, and then the Quran just
mentions
about
25 by name.
That's like maybe less than 10%.
Drop in the bucket
of all the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
The Quran is mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then these two, with Salih and Hud, and also Allah has destroyed those populations. So the prophets who that is not mentioned, who may be in Europe, the Far East,
mm-hmm.
Africa,
right?
We don't know whether it's obvious probably, maybe it's obvious that they reject faith, but is it obvious? I mean, did Allah destroy them? We don't know. Huh?
We don't know. Well, what we do know is this. Indirectly, we can definitely posit that there are other nations that were destroyed. We don't know how many or who, because we don't have their stories. And we can only indirectly assess this because the Prophet ﷺ, in his du'as, we mentioned a few times, every prophet is granted one du'a that Allah will definitively respond to when they make it. The Prophet ﷺ, different from the other prophets, instead of using the du'a for himself, he used it for his ummah, for his people. And one of the things that he asked for in this du'a, that his people would not be destroyed like the previous nations. And Allah knows best, this may be the only reason why we haven't been destroyed to the level that they were destroyed. Because when we look into the stories of these prophets, we see the things that people were doing that brought about their destruction. And then when we look at our society today, we don't see one of those things. We can see all the things that people were destroyed for in our society right now, when the people that were destroyed maybe doing only one or two or three of those things. And then we're doing all of them. And then nothing is happening to that level. Allah knows best. This is because of the dua of the Prophet ﷺ that was answered by Allah, that we wouldn't be destroyed the way they were destroyed. But the fact that the Prophet ﷺ made this dua and Allah answered it means the previous nations didn't have that level of protection. So to your point, it is an assessment that we can make that some of those nations definitely did experience destruction that we haven't heard of. And Allah knows best.
Well, when you go back to the Dajjal, based on what I've read, that he's like strictly going to attack the Earth people. You know.
Well, there's a. This may be the book you're referring to. There's a book that I would recommend. Interestingly enough, it's by the same author, Ibn Kathir. It's entitled in English, "Signs of the Day of Judgment." Small thing.
I think I have that. I bought that from the bookstore over here on Security.
About 100 pages or so, give or take.
It's a great book.
Maybe now, when I remember the book from the 90s, it had a picture of it was like space, picture of the Earth, and the Earth cracked on it, white letters, "Sign of the Day of Judgment." But we can find a lot of the.
I'll bring it tomorrow.
Sure thing. But I mentioned that to say, because you can find this narration in there. The Dajjal, there'll be no place on the earth except that he will travel to it, right? To it and his people. The only place on the earth that he will not be allowed to enter will be Mecca and Medina, because there will be angels guarding the gates of Mecca and Medina. He won't be able to.
But he's going to come out and I think Iraq or Palestine. I think what the city Ludd.
Lud, the gate of Lud. This is where Isa is going to slay him. The gate of Lud in Damascus.
Oh, that's where he's going to kill him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly where he's going to emerge from, I don't know.
Yeah, he's going to emerge from somewhere in Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember that city. But it also says he's going to attack the Arab people. Mm-hmm. So where's the protection?
There's going to be no place on the earth except that he's going to ravage those people and misguide them. The only place that will be protected, Mecca and Medina, and even that won't be will not be protection for the unfaithful, because there will be some form of a quake where the hypocrites, the munafiqeen, won't be allowed to stay. They're going to be exited from Mecca and Medina. So only the faithful who enter into Mecca and Medina will have the protection. If you're not truly faithful, Allah will make a way that they're going to be exited from.
Did you feel a joke today?
Yes, about a half hour ago. So may Allah protect us. We don't know what it is yet. Some people are saying it was an earthquake.
3:35.
Subhanallah.
Oh, you felt it too, huh?
Absolutely. And I heard it. I felt it and I heard it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, may Allah protect all of us.
Yeah, that's how the earthquake. That was just a small maybe 3 point something. Joke.
Yeah,
But,
the unofficial reports right now are saying 4.1 on the Richter scale unofficially.
Oh, really? You read that?
Unofficially, along those best. We just don't want to go out how odd and the mood went out, huh? So may Allah protect us.
Oh man, I've been through a lot of earthquakes, man. Even in LA.